I want you to think just for a second about the very last time you interacted with a major corporate brand.
Yeah. Try to picture that exact specific moment in your mind.
Right. Was it, sitting back and watching this beautifully produced cinematic marketing ad on a streaming service? The kind of thing with soaring music that made you feel warm and fuzzy and uh, deeply connected to their mission?
Yeah.
Or was it a completely invisible, silent algorithm working in the background? One that just instantaneously decided what price you should pay for a rideshare? Or maybe automatically rejected a warranty claim you submitted from your phone?
I mean, if you are like most people navigating the modern economy today, your dominant experience was almost certainly that latter scenario.
Exactly. And that brings us to the core mission of today's deep dive. Because we are exploring what is really a massive fundamental paradigm shift in how we understand and perceive organizations. We are rapidly moving away from a business landscape defined by what companies say they are to a world defined entirely by how their artificial intelligence actually behaves.
It is a profound structural shift in the corporate landscape. And to really understand the mechanics of it, we are drawing from a highly thought-provoking piece. It was just published on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago on February 24th, 2026.
It's a great read.
It really is. The article is titled Branding in the Age of Intelligent Enterprises, and it's written by J.D. Parashar. He is the founder and director of Rethynk AI Innovation and Research.
And we should probably note right up front that Vista Liberata serves as their official branding partner.
Right, which is highly relevant because it highlights just how deeply intertwined brand identity strategy and complex AI innovation have actually become for them in practice.
Yeah, it's not just theory for them.
Not at all. And if you look at Parashar's broader body of published work articles with titles like Ethics as Strategy or AI Transformation Starts with Culture, you start to see a very clear, cohesive philosophy emerging. He does not view artificial intelligence as just another layer of IT infrastructure.
It's not just, a cloud migration.
Yep. Exactly. It's not just a faster database. He argues that AI is rapidly becoming the actual active decision-making soul of the modern organization.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I do want to challenge that premise right out of the gate.
Sure, go for it.
Let's look at the pre-AI world of branding, or even just successful modern branding as we generally understand it. Traditional branding has always been built on push marketing, right? Messaging consistency, crafting a super recognizable visual identity. A company spends millions to project a specific aura.
They absolutely do.
And don't we still fall for good storytelling? I mean, look at a brand like Apple. They sell a meticulously crafted story about creativity and privacy, not just a microchip. So doesn't that contradict the idea that the AI's behavior is the only thing that really matters now?
It's a very fair pushback, but Parashar anticipates this exact tension. And he delivers what I think is the most crucial insight of the entire article to answer it. He writes, systems override storytelling.
Systems override storytelling.
Right. Apple's story works because their underlying systems, their hardware and software integration, consistently validate the story they are telling you. But what happens when the system contradicts the narrative?
The story falls apart.
Completely. Imagine a major international airline. They have a massive marketing apparatus pushing campaigns about being the world's most caring airline. They have the soaring string music in their commercials.
Oh, I know the ones.
Right. But last year, we actually saw a real-world scenario where a major airline's customer service chatbot hallucinated a refund policy that did not exist. And it promised a customer a discount.
Oh, wow. Yes, I remember reading about this.
When the airline tried to back out, saying, hey, the chatbot was just a glitch, a tribunal ruled they had to honor it. In that moment, the soaring string music didn't matter at all. The PR team didn't matter. The chatbot's automated behavior became the brand's legal and public reality.
The system overrode the storytelling.
Exactly. The system overrode the storytelling.
That is a phenomenal distinction, because the billboard might say, we care, but if the dynamic pricing algorithm price gouges you during a snowstorm, the algorithm is the true brand. The story is dead on arrival.
Precisely. When intelligent systems behave in ways that fundamentally contradict the declared brand promises, the trust just evaporates instantly. And Parashar actually breaks down the mechanics of this shift into 4 distinct operational realities. 4 pillars that are redefining brand perception for intelligent enterprises today.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if traditional marketing campaigns are taking a back seat, what replaces them? Pillar 1, Parashore suggests a massive transition from managing isolated customer touchpoints to governing entire continuous systems.
This is a huge shift in thinking.
It is. We are traditionally taught to optimize specific touchpoints, right? The layout of a retail store or the exact script a call center agent uses.
The micro-interactions.
Exactly. But in an intelligent enterprise, the AI is continuously doing the heavy lifting in the background. It is constantly prioritizing requests, filtering emails, recommending actions, and routing logistics, millions of times a day, entirely without human intervention.
And we really need to look at the psychological impact of that continuous, invisible interaction. It shifts the entire dynamic from push marketing to something closer to interactive behavioral economics.
How so?
Well, these automated moments are the water the customer is swimming in. An ad is an interruption. But an AI system that consistently and quietly anticipates a supply chain disruption for a B2B client, or effortlessly resolves a complex routing issue without the user even having to ask.
That builds real reliance.
It does. That repeated, quiet competence shapes perception far more permanently than any ad could. The automated system isn't just facilitating a transaction, it is actively negotiating the ongoing relationship.
Let me ask you this. Because operational efficiency is great, a system that routes logistics perfectly is highly valuable. But how does operational efficiency automatically translate to brand trust?
That's a good question.
As a user, I might think a company's software is really fast. But that doesn't necessarily mean I view the company itself as credible or mature, does it?
That is exactly the hurdle Parashar addresses next with Pillar 2. He argues that in this new paradigm, intelligence signals maturity and credibility.
Okay, break that down for me.
Stakeholders, and that means customers, investors, potential hires, they are actively changing the heuristics they use to judge an organization. Technical architecture is now being mapped directly onto human corporate values.
That's fascinating.
It is. For example, a system's predictive capability is no longer just seen as good data science. Stakeholders interpret it as corporate foresight. Algorithmic consistency is viewed as reliability, and the explainability of a system translates directly to trustworthiness.
So he's saying that if I am a vendor and I'm interacting with a clunky, poorly designed B2B algorithm that repeatedly fails to predict my inventory needs, I don't just think, wow, their IT department is really struggling.
Right.
I think this entire company is strategically incompetent.
That is the exact translation taking place in the user's mind. The text summarizes this beautifully. He says, AI maturity becomes brand maturity.
AI maturity becomes brand maturity.
The technology's capability acts as a direct proxy for the organization's overall credibility. If your systems are brittle and reactive, the market just assumes your leadership is brittle and reactive.
Which brings us to Pillar 3, and an incredibly sensitive friction point. Because if the system is making these continuous decisions, we have to talk about how it makes them. And I want to connect this directly to your life as a listener.
Real-world impact.
Yeah. Think about the high-stakes automated decisions you face. Applying for a mortgage, seeking eligibility for a business loan, or even just trying to buy concert tickets and getting hit with aggressive dynamic pricing. In all of these scenarios, an algorithm is filtering your opportunities or setting your financial reality based on factors you cannot see.
What's fascinating here is the nuance Parashar introduces regarding those specific high-friction situations. He points out a reality that often frustrates data scientists. Perceived fairness matters immensely. Sometimes it actually matters more than pure mathematical accuracy.
Really?
Yes. Even if an AI's outcome is technically correct, statistically sound, and based on perfectly clean training data, if the decision process is opaque to the end user, it severely damages brand equity.
Let me challenge you on that, though. If the math is objectively correct, say a bank's algorithm correctly determines that a specific loan is too high risk based on historical data, why should the bank's brand take a hit just because the user didn't like the answer? Isn't the AI just doing its job?
It is doing its financial job, but it is failing its brand job. The damage comes from the black box phenomenon. Nobody likes being told no by a machine that flat out refuses to explain its reasoning.
That makes sense. It feels very dismissive.
Exactly. If the user feels subjected to an asymmetric power dynamic where this invisible system dictates their fate and they have absolutely no mechanism to question or understand the variables, they don't blame the math. They blame the brand. They blame the brand for treating them as a mere data point rather than a human being.
They feel processed.
Yes. Opaque or inconsistent algorithmic decisions destroy trust. And in the modern economy, Trust is the currency of brand survival.
That feeling of being processed by a cold, uncaring machine leads right into Pillar 4, which is a highly philosophical but incredibly practical observation in the article. Because for decades, corporate values were something a company just announced.
You hired a consultant.
You hired a consultant, you wrote a nice mission statement, and you put a shiny plaque on the lobby wall. But Parashar states flatly that values are encoded, not declared.
The shift from the lobby plaque to the neural network. It's a profound realization. An AI system's optimization function serves as the ultimate lie detector for a corporation's true marketing claims.
The ultimate lie detector.
Because an algorithm shows exactly what an organization actually optimizes for when push comes to shove. It reveals the trade-offs the company is willing to accept behind closed doors. And it exposes where their real ethical and operational boundaries actually lie.
So let's say a major social media platform launches this massive PR campaign claiming they deeply value user mental health and community well-being.
A classic scenario.
Right. But their core recommendation engine is demonstrably optimized to maximize outrage, tribalism, and doom scrolling, simply because that drives ad revenue. What you're saying is the PR campaign is completely irrelevant. The code is the mission statement.
The code is the mission statement. The quote from the source captures it perfectly. Values are no longer declared, they are encoded. The weights and biases within the machine learning model are the truest reflection of the CEO's actual priorities.
So what does this all mean for the people actually running these companies? It's one thing for us to sit here and point out that there is a massive disconnect between marketing and algorithmic behavior.
It's much harder to fix it.
Exactly. It's another thing entirely to actually fix it. If you are a corporate leader right now, how do you prevent your company from offering these fragmented, deeply frustrating experiences? How do you avoid the reputational risk of an algorithm acting out of alignment with your brand?
Well, Parashar doesn't leave us hanging. He outlines a very specific 4-step CXO framework for rethinking branding as intelligent experience design.
Let's walk through that.
He treats branding as a rigorous organizational capability now, rather than just a creative exercise. So the first step in his framework is mapping AI-driven brand moments.
Mapping the moments.
Right. This requires a total shift in perspective from the C-suite. Leaders have to audit their entire operational landscape and identify exactly where AI is acting as the representative of the brand.
Where is it actually touching people?
Exactly. Where is it influencing a stakeholder's decision? Where is it shaping a vendor's experience? The realization here is that a back-end logistics algorithm isn't just an IT process anymore. If it touches the customer's reality, it is a brand touchpoint.
Okay, so once you have that map, you move to the second phase, which Parashar calls algorithmic alignment. This is where you have to align the system's behavior with your actual intent.
It's the moment of truth.
It really is.
Yeah.
Leaders have to sit down and ask, does this specific dynamic pricing model actually act in line with our promise to be a customer-centric company? Are we intentionally making these trade-offs? And do we fully understand the downstream effects? It essentially means your branding team needs to be in the room with the data engineers.
Which leads to the third step, and arguably the most difficult one to execute. Building transparency. As we discussed earlier with algorithmic fairness, trust only grows when decisions are explainable. Organizations have to ensure that their data usage is clear, and crucially, that appeals and overrides actually exist.
I have to jump in here, though, because if I'm a tech CEO, my algorithm is my competitive moat, it's my secret sauce. I am not opening the hood on my proprietary pricing engine or my matching algorithm just to make people feel better. How does Parashar suggest companies balance the need for transparency with the need to protect their intellectual property?
It's a really critical distinction. Because transparency in this context does not mean open sourcing your proprietary code on GitHub.
Right. You're not giving away the code.
No. It means explainability of the decision to the end user. It means designing the system so it can output a comprehensible reason. Like, your application was flagged because your debt-to-income ratio exceeded our threshold, rather than just outputting error code 404, denied.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about the why, not the how.
Exactly. And Parashar emphasizes that in the intelligent enterprise era, this level of transparency is no longer just a pesky legal or compliance requirement to be minimized by corporate lawyers. It is a tangible brand asset.
Brand asset.
Yes. Companies that can explain their automated decisions will inherently steal market share from companies that hide behind black boxes.
Transparency as a competitive brand asset that completely flips the traditional corporate mindset. And that brings us to the final step in the framework, which is governing AI as a brand asset. You can't just launch a perfectly aligned, transparent algorithm and walk away.
No, because the market changes. Data drifts and systems adapt over time.
Right.
Governance is where the theory becomes daily reality. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to establish operational boundaries that are directly tied to your brand values. And you must have continuous, ongoing monitoring of these brand-impacting systems.
You can't just set it and forget it.
Exactly. And this framework is exactly the methodology Parashar's organization, Rethynk AI, uses when they consult with leadership teams. They don't just rewrite copy. They work to integrate AI strategy, organizational design, and brand identity into one cohesive unit.
That makes total sense.
Their specific consulting practice covers areas like AI-led brand strategy and leadership AI literacy. It's specifically designed to help legacy organizations transition from the old world of brand messaging to the new world of brand intelligence.
And we can see tangible evidence that this shift is already resonating deeply in the professional world. Looking at the public discourse around Parashar's article, it is clearly striking a nerve with people actually doing this work on the ground.
Oh, absolutely.
Just about a week ago, a professional named Funshu Ajibola left a comment on the piece that I think really grounds all this high-level theory in stark reality. They wrote, "You can't underestimate the significance of intelligence in this dispensation."
It perfectly captures the zeitgeist. Professionals in the trenches recognize that the baseline for corporate survival has completely moved. Parashar offers a final, synthesizing takeaway for leaders that I think cuts right through the noise.
So here.
In the age of intelligent enterprises, branding is no longer about being louder. It isn't about buying more ad space, optimizing your SEO, or shouting your core values over the competition. It is entirely about being smarter, fairer, and more consistently reliable at a massive automated scale.
It's about action, not volume.
Yes. And he challenges organizations to stop asking the legacy marketing question, how do you want to be perceived? And instead ask a much more demanding question, how does our organization behave when intelligence is in control?
How does our organization behave when intelligence is in control? That is the question every executive needs framed on their desk. And to you, the listener, whether you are acting as a consumer, an employee navigating corporate software, or just someone trying to understand the invisible architecture of the modern world.
It affects everyone.
It really does. Remember that your perception of reality is being shaped daily by systems you will never see. The next time you are locked out of an account, subjected to a bizarre dynamic price surge, or conversely, you experience a surprisingly delightful, anticipatory automated service, look at it through this new lens.
Look past the interface.
Yes, don't just view it as a random tech glitch or a lucky IT win. Recognize that in that exact moment, the company's actual unvarnished brand is speaking directly to you.
Yeah.
Their truly encoded values are entirely exposed.
This raises an important question, though, and it's a fascinating, slightly unsettling place to push this logic as we conclude.
I'm intrigued.
We've established that brand values are no longer just declared on a billboard, right? They are literally encoded into the rules, weights, and logic of complex AI systems. But the real world is infinitely more complex than any training data set.
Of course.
So what happens when a highly autonomous algorithm encounters a completely novel dilemma out in the wild? A highly specific, unprecedented situation that the company never explicitly programmed it to handle.
Oh, wow.
In its attempt to optimize for its baseline parameters, does the system accidentally invent a brand new corporate value on the fly? And if an AI synthesizes a new operational ethic in a fraction of a second, what happens when that newly invented value is one that the CEO doesn't even agree with?
An algorithm spontaneously inventing a new corporate ethic to solve an edge case and binding the company to it in real time. That is an incredibly wild, complex thought to mull over, and the perfect place to leave our deep dive for today. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the invisible systems shaping our lives. Keep questioning the algorithms you interact with, look past the storytelling, and we'll be right back here next time to unpack another fascinating piece of the world with you. Take care.